Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines. XRP Ledger unlocking $5 trillion a day. You're going to want every single bit of that. U.S. government shutdown. We got to get into it. We may have an end creeping in and 100% tariffs. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.84 trillion market cap for crypto at the time of recording this video. The market off 6.5%. Obviously experienced a massive flash crash on Friday, late afternoon, early evening. I tell you, it was something to behold. This is why I don't leverage. And when markets like this, I want to see utility come into the things that I've invested in and bring a floor price that is much more reliable and sustainable for leverage than currently exists because of things that we couldn't have forecasted yesterday. I tell everybody to be safe out here. I hope everybody was able to navigate this. Just remember, if you didn't leverage anything, you really just it was a blip in the radar, right? I mean, that's what it was for me. And I used it to buy the dip. So here we are, $3.84 trillion and off 6.5 on the market, and Bitcoin 112,000 plus, Ethereum 3,800 plus, XRP is 249 at the time of recording. We're off 9.4 on the 24, and we're off 16.3 on the 7-day, much like Ethereum and a lot of the rest of the market. So ranging between 204 and 277. We're sitting about the middle of that at 247 here. Look, I think we're going to talk about the things today, where we're going here, and the potential of when this government shutdown could end, which does play a role. And so does this. President Trump announced 100% tariffs on Chinese imports after China sent out all these notices to all the countries of the world, saying they were going to charge incredible tariffs and tax or whatever, however you like to say it, on rare minerals and magnets and things of that nature, which are like a natural resource in China. So, but President Trump fired back and said, you know what, we have double, if not triple, the amount of things that we can do that to China on. Okay, so this is where it's getting here, as China's trying to play tough. But the reality is that this will get sorted out, because none of this is sustainable for anyone in the long run. But I do believe China is at a disadvantage here, because China is going to need more things than we're going to need. And what we need is important that they have. Make no mistake about it, which is why 100% tariffs are going in place. But that's what triggered the market to roll over. And here we need to find out about the government shutdown. Well, here's Kristen Smith, who used to be the head of blockchain, Blockchain Association. Take a listen to this.
There is one common thread right now among the crypto industry, and that's that this year we have seen tremendous progress on the public policy front. We've had a very strong leadership by the White House with the executive orders. We've had the stablecoin legislation, the Genius Act, signed into law this summer. And then we have the SEC's Project Crypto, which is issuing guidance for how securities laws apply to this space. And so I do think, as we look across crypto generally, but specifically to Bitcoin and also to Solana, which I care deeply about, we have this common thread of it's okay if you're an asset allocator or if you're an exchange or a bank to be looking at this sector, because it's going to be a part of our financial future going forward.
But Kristen, we have a government shutdown.
We do. We do. Well, crypto markets never sleep. But the government...
Some of the agencies do during a government shutdown.
Some of the agencies do. Yes. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. It is a short-term setback to have the federal agencies shut down right now, particularly with the SEC and the CFTC. We have over 90% of the staff furloughed at those agencies right now. And so that means routine things like approval of new S1s or S3s have a real impact, particularly when it comes to things like Solana exchange-traded products, which are on on the cusp of going live. We just need to get the corporate finance staff at the SEC back, or similarly, new IPOs in the crypto space like BitCo are impacted by the shutdown. But Congress is working, the Senate is in, and the legislative discussions are continuing there. And so I think this is a short-term setback, and as soon as the government opens up, we'll be back on track.
There you have it. Now, when might the government open up? Well, looky here. Here is the great news on Bad Crypto Day. The government shutdown could end on October 19th, according to House Speaker Mike Johnson, saying this live on Fox News this morning. So, which means the SEC can approve the spot ETFs for XRP and others. And the deadline's October 18th to the 25th. So head on a swivel. We could see within a week or a week and a day here, 7-8 days, this market could come alive like we've never witnessed before. And they just cleared out a lot in the market with the flash crash on Friday. So now this is a reminder that we know 1 month from now, SWIFT is doing a big bang cutover to ISO 20022. And if we do get the government ramping back up in another week or so, doesn't it feel timely? And we have to ask the question, will the government open its doors back on chain? I mean, if I upload new software on my computer, I've got to reboot it. And didn't Howard Lutnick tell us that they were already on chain with the Department of Commerce? And they were going to have everything on chain for the Department of Commerce, and so would every other agency. So are they going to take advantage of this shutdown? And when they come back on, turn the lights on, and then every department be on chain? I don't know the answer. I'm asking the question because Swift's getting ready to do it. Swift's getting ready to do it. That's what ISO 20022 does. It gives them access. Obviously, this payment rail has been around for more than a decade, but the way they've restructured it and standardized this is with the incorporation of digital assets to go along with it. This is remarkable. So we have to ask these questions to keep moving. You know, just to let you know, here it is, right? November deadline, ISO 20022 migration. It's next month, ladies and gentlemen. FedNow's already done it. And remember, on the second day of the shutdown, FedNow put out a post we covered here on the channel that said, by the way, we can do instant payments. Well, how the hell are you doing that? The government just shut down 2 days ago. Now, we know Ripple's a partner to FedNow. Is it because it was already done? And did they make that announcement under the shadow of the government shutdown so it doesn't make news? I don't know. Direct confirmation SWIFT that it's a misconception to believe that ISO 2022 is just messaging. I absolutely agree with that. Let's play a piece of this.
ISO 20022 is called and recognized as the standard of the future. And I remember to briefly touch this topic at Hong Kong Blockchain Week. Can you please tell us more about how this standard is applied?
Sure. So ISO 20022 is a standard that's been in development for more than 10 years. And it's not just a messaging standard. That's kind of a misinterpretation of what it is. At its very base, it's actually business flows. So for example, when you're doing a payment, what does that look like? Who are the parties involved? What information do they send to each other, et cetera, et cetera. When you break that down to its components, you end up actually with a very rich kind of data dictionary, which allows you to reuse these components in different ways, like a recipe book. So ISO 20022 absolutely is pervasive in our industry. It's used across payments, securities, transactions. And the reason that it's done so well as a standard is really because of its flexibility and also the fact that it's an open source standard. So anybody can go to ISO20022.org and get the information on the standard out of that. But why it's important from, maybe I'll talk first from a payments perspective and then from a securities perspective, but why it's important from a payments perspective is it allows innovation to grow. So it provides a base about how people interact, so a language, and then on top of it, it allows innovation to grow from there. So I'll give you an example of that. For example, in Australia, there's a real-time payment platform called NPP. That Australian platform actually does person-to-person payment transactions within, let's say, less than 10 seconds. It does this transaction. And that's all based on ISO 20022. The idea is to then, on top of that, build a layer that allows fintech companies to plug into that fast payment utility. And that will allow those fintech companies to be able to offer services to the market. For example, let's say you want to get a mortgage and you have to do all the document checks, you have to do et cetera, and then that results at the end of the day into a payment of your deposit. That could be a fintech company sitting on top of that does document checking and eventually helps to initiate the payment. And what that allows you to do is, because we've agreed on the business standards and how you, for example, initiate payment, it's then more interesting and easy for fintech companies to be able to grow on top of that, because they no longer need to worry about how do they communicate with that real-time payments platform, how do they communicate with the banks. That basis is set and it allows innovation to grow. Another example of that is we do a lot of work with the World Wide Web Consortium. around payments and how payments go from a web browser. So we worked very closely with this group over the years, which includes the like of Google, Apple, et cetera, who are all looking at a common standard on how to do payment.
There you have it. The World Wide Web Consortium, you know, the same one that Stephen Thomas with his time at Ripple when he was CTO, donated and gifted the Interledger protocol to the World Wide Web Consortium. That World Wide Web Consortium, that's who. Yeah. Look, we're moving on here, but look, then you have Swift. I'm just touching a few things because I'm getting ready to take you somewhere, so I hope you ain't left yet. Swift is working with ACI. Yes, longtime partner. And yes, ACI is a partner of Ripple. We're done here. There's your Swift connection. There's others, but there it is. Then you have Ripple buying Rail Financial, which supports SEPA, the giant payment system in Europe. You've heard of it. Fedwire, ACH, and Swift payment rails, which we just showed you we're connected to. Then you have this news right here. This is why you didn't leave. The 9 of the world's largest Wall Street banks have announced plans to jointly develop a reserve-backed stablecoin pegged to major G7 currencies. A move signaling traditional finance's most ambitious push yet into blockchain-based payments. This is the new system the world will run on, and I've said it for years. Once you put all the money on the payment rails on the ledger, what do you think the world's going to use? What do you think they're going to consider legitimate? Yeah. Published Friday, the worldwide, the consortium includes Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, Banco Santander, BNP Paribas, Citigroup, MUFG, TD Bank Group, and UBS. Almost all of these are partners of Ripple. Almost all of them. It's remarkable, isn't it? So there you have it. That's what we're talking about. And they're going to target a $50 trillion digital payment opportunity. That's all. Just a $50 trillion payment opportunity, which even gets bigger. The list of G7 nations, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, United States. I asked Grok. I said right here, what is the combined daily payment flows for the G7 collectively? Well, here it is. This represents the aggregate value of payments processed through domestic systems. Growth in 24 to 25 is expected at 5.7% annually, driven by digital adoption, which we're talking about right now. Right? Instant payments potentially increasing daily flows to 5 trillion by late 2025. And here we are, late 2025, getting ready to switch over to ISO 20022. And we got 7 or 9 of the largest banks getting ready to launch G7 currencies, all on the same platform. You know, for context here, non-cash flows were at 1.8 trillion in 2023, but you see the 5 trillion by late 2025, which is where we are. So in case you're wondering, this is what it looks like to me. Now, I know not all the G7 are represented here, but you get the idea. That is what the news of this is right here. Wall Street banks unite to launch G7-backed stablecoin initiative. You don't say. Okay. Look, we can't know for sure how right we may be or wrong we could be. But I'm liking where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. Happy Sunday. I'll catch all of you on the next one.